prepare for things along the way that are going to happen to you. So how do you kindly be realistic? But we need support from our friends. What other emotions might you experience overseas? Yes?
I think sometimes, I don't know if it's overseas or not, but sometimes there's denial by, let's say, one of the children.
Yes.
That they don't believe that mom is going downhill and don't want to see anything change. Oh, she's just forgetful.
Right.
And that's a real critical issue when you run into one of the other members of your family who deny that there's something more serious.
Absolutely. Not to mention the person himself or herself.
Oh, right. And often the elderly person is in denial too. It's a tricky dance. I happen to have read some of the research, and of course as a therapist I really do believe that there is such grace and opportunity for more closeness if you are honest. And say, you know, it might be hard to talk to you about this, but you know, you're not getting better. I mean, somehow be loving and break the denial. It's one of the reasons we like people to talk early, because then the family system can say, we're working together, we're not in denial. Because as long as the denial's there, the closeness can't happen. What else? Other feelings you might have?
I was just going to say, one advantage to talking about it early is when it's still a hypothetical situation, and then the whole family can accept a hypothetical arrangement that doesn't, you know, that they're not going to try to defend the opposite.
Have to be acted on.
Well, feelings are much less intense, because once you're at those final stages, it's really intense. And the other piece that I heard and read, and I experienced it with my father, that truly at some deep level, the dying person feels a tremendous sense of relief if it can be talked about. He doesn't have to be brave in denial so no one else gets sad. Let me just make one more comment on feelings. I mentioned guilt. The other tricky issue is guilt about not being home when the person dies. And the truth is, you never know when it's going to happen. And the doctors don't even really know. They might predict, but they don't know. So be gentle on yourself. Do your best to get home. And we're going to talk briefly at the end, if we hope we have time, about some of the things that are important to say to your parent as you say goodbye to them. So I'm going to turn it back to Lee.
Okay. A problem that I found is who was looking in on my mother, and could I trust what they were saying while I was away? I mean, how do you monitor the care that the person is getting? And you can do that various ways, actually. Siblings may or may not be reliable because they may not share your opinion about the condition of the person, particularly if the person says, no, I'm fine, and when you come home, you can see, because you've been away for a while, what the difference is. And that's going to happen to us too, unfortunately. So you have to monitor it either through an agent, whether it's a friend or a trusted church member, or someone who can be objective and who will report back to you, particularly if something is going on. Elder care is really an issue I can't stress too much. My mother has a neighbor, same situation, and I finally, when I learned what was going on, I called the senior protective agency. And you've got to act, because it's better to be wrong in suspecting something than wrong in not reporting what you suspect and is actually occurring. There are also some rather new positions, I think. You have geriatric care managers. These people obviously work for a fee, and they're very useful because they will also research not only the facilities and the care received in them, but Medicare and Medicaid and other benefits that the person is entitled to. And that is really a help, because the situation is getting more and more confusing with regard to Medicare and Medicaid and the other benefits available. And then we have the mediator in case of serious disputes among family members and the person. That's your mother, sisters, brothers, etc. So these people, again, work for a fee, but it saves you from reverting to an elder care lawyer and getting involved in the court system and that kind of thing, which is very expensive and usually causes permanent breaks between people. So it's not a really good idea if you can avoid it, obviously. The other evening I was talking to an elder care attorney, and I said, "Oh, what kind of cases are you treating now?" And he said, "Well, the parent, the father in this case, was being taken advantage of financially by one or more children. And so the father was still well enough to realize that he needed help in dealing with these people. And so he just went to this attorney, and he is administering the estate and telling these people to, back off. The guy's not dead yet, so you can't pick the bones clean." And so, again, that's, you want to avoid that whenever possible. The big question now in the U.S. is who is going to pay for all of this expensive care. On the board, I've just given you a few statistics. These are from 2007. We're in 2010, so you can imagine that costs have risen. But it's really frightening when you consider how much it costs to maintain yourself or your parent when the time comes. And it's a lot of money, I can tell you. The average length of stay in a nursing home when you reach that point is 2.4 years. Now that doesn't sound like much, and that's when you need a lot of nursing care, 24/7 or part of that time, whatever. But the cost for that can be like $165,000 over the time that they are in there. And those are, again, conservative estimates. Assisted living costs from... It's wrong?
You think those amounts of money are
Wrong? Low? Shirley? Too high?
I'm sitting here, I live in a retirement community, and I'm part of the great generation. And we expect to live independently the rest of our lives. I have my own little house. I feel as if I live in a park. I don't need sympathy or help. And I'll never be in a nursing home, never. And I'll die in my own house. If it's necessary, I'll have a